Now, the Lakers have been talking a lot over the past few days. Specifically, Jeannie Buss came out and said, I'm the one that makes all the decisions. LeBron doesn't make any decisions here with the Lakers. It ultimately falls on me. When the reality is, like everyone knows, that they're going to do what LeBron James wants. They didn't bring DeMar DeRozan in because LeBron James wanted Russell Westbrook. So Russell Westbrook ends up in LA. Now they got a big problem on their hands. Well, now the reports are that Phil Jackson wants to trade LeBron James and keep Russell Westbrook. Maybe not so much because Russell Westbrook's so great or is playing so well, but you are not going to get rid of that contract. Nobody will want to trade for that contract, that's for sure. After team owner Jeannie Buss confirmed to Los Angeles Times columnist Bill Plaschke, she's leaning on former Lakers coach Phil Jackson to help the team bounce back after a disappointing season. Plaschke provided some insight into Jackson's thinking about the roster. I've heard that Phil would like LeBron traded. I've just heard that, but I got nothing to back it up. No on the record stuff. I do know that Phil would like to keep Russell Westbrook and try to make that work with him. Plaschke also says he believes the Lakers would make it a requirement for the next head coach to make it work with Westbrook, who would be a challenging player to trade with 1 year and $47 million left on his contract. Now, we talked a little bit beforehand about it, but Johnny, what are your feelings about this? Do you think it's a real report that Phil Jackson really feels that way? Or do you think Plaschke's just BSing?
No, I mean, I don't think Plaschke's always the best source for accurate information. But with that being said, I do think this is extremely accurate. And like I've said for a while, they've had an icy relationship. Phil Jackson made that comment years ago about LeBron and his posse, and LeBron kind of took that as some form of racism or that sort of thing. And even just Phil Jackson in general, like the people who have the greatest respect for Phil Jackson are players who played in the 2000s and players who played in the 90s. Once you get kind of beyond that, he's kind of just seen as kind of like a fossil, just like a relic of the old NBA. And because when it didn't work out with the Knicks, Carmelo Anthony had shifted some of the blame onto Phil Jackson. He had said that they don't believe the triangle could work in the modern game. Guys like Kobe and guys like Phil Jackson have stated that, yes, it still can work in the modern game, but not everybody agrees on that. And the fact that Carmelo and LeBron are so close, and at this point at LeBron James heading into his 20th season next year, Phil Jackson's got to be looking at him knowing there's no way I can teach this guy how to play the game. I want to play him. And so if he's not for that, I'm not for him. So there's just so many levels to why this just makes sense, why it just wouldn't work between the two of them. And everything I've said in my own video is still applicable. LeBron's got 1 year left on his contract, heading into this 20th season, already talked about going wherever his son gets drafted. It just, it doesn't make sense whether Phil Jackson's involved or not. So,
yeah. What about you, John? What do you think about this?
Well, Johnny just said it right there. LeBron has 1 year left on his contract. He's 37 years old. He's going to be 38. It would only make sense to get something for him now because he still averaged 30 points, I believe 8 rebounds, 6 assists, something like that. The numbers look good. The problem is he only played in 52 games.
Right.
But if you look at the numbers, like, wow, can he actually duplicate this next season? I don't know. We're better off getting something now than not getting nothing in the future. Yeah. So if you Phil Jackson, it makes complete sense in addition that Phil Jackson despises LeBron James.
What I'm wondering is, would Phil still say this and would he want this if there was 3 years left on LeBron's contract instead of 1? Because that would be a much bolder statement coming from him. But it's not uncommon.
I've been saying LeBron too at that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because it's at this point, like when I first made a video, I was in the few who were saying you should trade LeBron, and I even took some heat for it. But since then, people on ESPN have started saying it. Now we're hearing Phil Jackson say it. Like that narrative of LeBron is actually tradable is starting to gain some steam.
Yeah, it's because, especially when you go through these Western Conference and you see all these other teams, right? I mean, the Lakers, LeBron comes back next year. Say he's back, he's fully healthy. Say AD's healthy the entire season, which will never happen. But say this Lakers team is effectively exactly the same as last year, but just healthy. Are they better than the Memphis Grizzlies?
No.
Are they better than the Phoenix Suns? Are they better than the Golden State Warriors? Are they better than any number of Western Conference teams? And I think the answer is probably no.
They're probably still not even a playoff team, even healthy.
I think healthy, they're probably a playoff team. You know, I
7,
think
8 seed.
I think they're better than
9.
Minnesota. You know, I think they're better than Minnesota. You know, when they're healthy. But the point is, what can you do? You can't trade Russell Westbrook because nobody wants him.
No.
The one person that
Well,
the two people would
newsflash,
be AD and LeBron.
Newsflash: this came out a couple of days ago that allegedly the Rockets are trying to trade Russell Westbrook for John Wall because their contracts are identical, and I believe both of them are expiring. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, but I guess I don't know if they'd really want to do that because it is the same contract. I guess you could have a swap there. John Wall would probably fit in better with what the Lakers would want to do if that was.
He hadn't played like in 2 years. It seems the Rockets have just been sitting on him.
Yeah, he hasn't done shit. The Rockets have been terrible the past couple seasons. But when it comes to LeBron, there are a lot of teams that would want LeBron. And I think there's a lot of teams that would be willing to part with a couple talented young guys, you know, to send back to LA because they could improve and be better now if they got LeBron James on their team. So there is a potential. Will LeBron want to do it? Will LeBron want to go with his son still in high school in LA? I doubt it. I don't think it'll happen. I think there's going to be too much pressure for them to try to win with LeBron, and they're going to have another mediocre season, which will be great for us to talk about. But the fact that I do believe that Phil wants to trade him for not just because he might dislike him, not just because LeBron might dislike him, but for all the reasons that actually do make sense.